In this session, we'll try to understand what exactly the AWS Code Commit and how can we make use of the tool or the managed service of AWS Code Commit, and we'll try to understand what exactly is all about in depth with an example and some working things over it. Fine. So this will be the agenda of the session that initially we'll try to understand what exactly the AWS Code Commit is, and definitely if we are going with some tools or the service, definitely we should know the features of that tool or the magic of that tool, right? And why should we use that tool and how we gonna use that tool also, and similar tools to Code Commit. So do we have any similar tool to Code Commit? We'll try to come across all those things. Fine. So let us start with what exactly the code commit. So probably the word already people have might have heard previously if you are working in development domain. So that is so that is the word already says that we are committing some code where we are committing. So probably in as per the quiet knowledge, we used to commit our code to GitHub, so for maintaining the version controlling and storing your code for further use, as well as for even for deployment too, right? So likewise in AWS we have service called, that is especially I can say that it's a managed service. So why I'm using the word managed service, will going to understand one after the other. Fine. So as of now, we'll keep it simple. That is, it's a AWS Code Commit is a managed source control service provided by the Amazon Web Service. So it allows team to host or manage the Git repositories. So why, when we have Git already, why should we opted for code commit, and why should we use code commit, and I will go and try to understand, right? So the code commit is all about what we use, so called GitHub or the Git, to store our codes, source codes, as well as to do the version controlling and to do builds or do build pipelines for all those things. The initial or the step one will be of kind is GitHub, right? So instead of GitHub, so if your organization is completely adopted to the AWS only, so from infrastructure till deployment and maintenance, each and everything is being managed and monitored by the AWS means, then we can go for code commit. So instead of opting for GitHub, so we can optimize the billings, right? So when we are using only single platform for all the resources which are available, or which are required for our complete from the development till the deployment and maintenance. So when these tools or the service being offered by one platform means, we can definitely go and operate. So when we are adopted to it, so we can go for AWS. That is, if your organization is using AWS for deploying, for managing the host, as well as provisioning or infrastructure, networking, each and everything is being used of AWS means, then we can obviously go with code commit. So in other words, we can say that AWS DevOps things. Okay, so development and operations are being done in the AWS platform means, we can directly go and choose the code commit. Okay, instead of going with Git repository. So in, if I even though if we are going with GitHub repository as well as uh, Amazon things, so there will be quite a hurdle. So for maintaining two bills, right? So there also we need to pay bill, here also we need to pay bill. So why don't we make it as more optimal and make it into one? In those case, the we can go for code commit only if your organization is using all other AWS services to test, deploy, and maintain the applications. Only for storing, if you are going with GitHub, on that case we can have it. Or else if you want to deploy your own things, and you own your all infrastructure physically, and you are just using AWS for hosting and managing the things for instead of Jenkins, then we can go for AWS resources as it says. Okay, so the code commit is a managed service control, that is source control service provided by the AWS. So it allows team or host to manage Git repositories in cloud, enabling secure and highly scalable version control. So we can commit code is designed for developers to store and collaborate on code documentations and other projects files without need to manage their own Git infrastructure. So we don't require to maintain all those things, having the another Git account. And so if you have Amazon account, definitely you can go and create the repository. You can store the codes and you can pull or you can link however you want. Okay, we'll go and see all those things in the end of the session. Okay, so we'll try to understand the key advantages of the code commit. So it's kindly of fully managed. So no need to set up or maintain the source code control servers. So you need not to maintain anything. So everything is being managed by the AWS itself. Even though when it comes to GitHub, even we won't be managing any of the provisioning things or the infrastructure things. Even those are being taken care by the AWS itself, right? That's all. And when it comes to secure, so integration with the AWS identity as well as access management for fine-grained access control. So assume that, so if you are working with some projects and only you have been assigned with that repo, and you cannot do multiple things only, even though if you want to commit something, definitely the root, one should compare the things, and there only they can able to commit the code, unless until we cannot do, right? So that's why when it comes to AWS, so we can restrict the users by doing the operations too. We do have the additional features, that is access management, right? So we can control the user too, likewise, and highly scalable. So supports repositories of any size, making it suitable for both small team and large enterprises. So probably when an organization, nobody will go and use the open source, that is GitHub. So probably they go and opt it for the enterprise version, right? So nobody is going to use, since they want their code to be highly scalable and it should be available on time, and there not should be logs or any accessibility issues or committing issues like that. So on those cases, even for the security purpose, they obviously go and opt for the GitHub enterprise version by paying the premiums or getting subscription for it. Fine. And high availability. So builds on AWS infrastructures and ensuring uptime and durability. So since all your other services, that is, it could be building your application, testing your application, deploying your application in the AWS environment itself. So in that case, whatever the code we will be storing in the repository are more available, having the high availability, right? And integration, so works seamlessly with other AWS services like AWS Code Build, Code Pipe, Code Deploy for CI/CD workflow. So instead of using the Jenkins or any other tools like that, so everything is being managed by the AWS. In one roof, we have all everything. So that is building the code, building the pipeline, and for deployment also we have inside the AWS platform itself. And support standard gits, that is fully compatible with git commits. So for using a git commit, you need not to go and learn new commands for managing your git repositories. So whatever the commands you are used to use during your github transaction things, the same command can be used here well. And why use AWS commit? So no infrastructure management, or even there also we are not using. So but security and compliance, you need not to go and opt for enterprise version. So already you won the AWS account, so there only you can have it if you are rest of the infrastructure as being used in the AWS means. Fine, provide encryption at rest in transit along with the auditing capabilities. So even when it comes to GitHub enterprises, the Git has the accessibility of maintaining the logs and auditing the capabilities and all. But when it comes to AWS, you can monitor using the CloudTrail and CloudWatch, where who has done what has done everything, right? Even though we may have the commit message, but still we can spoof everything. So whatever the data we going to provide is being taken from the machines, right? So in those cases we can have, since even the IAM been maintained by the root user, so he or she going to provision the access to the people. Okay, global availability ensures low latency access to repositories for distributed teams and native AWS integration. So, but here we have some disadvantages that when we are using the code commit, you cannot probably use you cannot probably use the AWS code commit with other tools or the softwares. Fine. So seamless development workflows when using other AWS services. So how does the code commit everything is going to work? So we'll try to look over it and then we go and perform some practical things also. So creating the repository. So create a repository through a AWS management console. Even we can go and perform creation everything from the management console or CLI or SDK. Configuring permissions using the IAM rules and policies. So we need to do these things. We'll go and see all. And same, there is no much difference using the code commit or the GitHub. So in GitHub, it will going to support multiple platforms. Even you can use it for Azure, you can use it for GCP, or if you are using for local deployment, there also you can do it. But in AWS code commit, only it is limited to AWS environment only. So rest of the things, whatever we do, we add the file, we commit the file, we restore or revert the file, and we commit the changes, we push, we clone, right? Each and everything is same. There won't be much differences. Add and commit changes. So developer can add, commit, push changes to the repository as they would do with any other Git systems. I just said right like that. And collaborate, shares repository with team members using the IAM or across account roles. You cannot go beyond the AWS. Integrate CI/CD, continuous integration, developer or deployment. Like code commit repositories to AWS pipeline for automated builds, and we used to do for integration and deployment, we used to use Jenkins and all, right? So likewise, the Jenkins part of work is being taken care by the code pipeline here. So we can link directly internally within the AWS and we can automate the build and deployment workflow. And to monitor all those things, we can have, that is CloudWatch for monitoring the logs and maintaining the logs, and even the events can be drawn there, and who has done, when has done, and how is doing, everything is being monitored by the crowd trial, like. And here is the similar tool to AWS code commit. So we should have some alternative things, right? So likewise, so probably you people might have already know GitHub, a popular Git based source control platform with excellent support for open source projects, integrations and advanced CI/CD features. So these are the benefits which we won't much sees in the code commit. And GitLab, so provide Git repository hosting. So GitLab, inside the Git only we have GitLab, like another tool which provide hosting with the built-in CI/CD pipelines and DevOps tools. So GitLab owns all those things. So here we need to use multiple tools. So there we have everything in one. And Bitbucket. So Git-based platform with support for CI/CD projects management as well as integration with other Atlassian tools like Jira. So for doing all the tracking things we will be using Jira. So and also we do have the Azure repos, likewise we have the GCP repos also. So we'll be using inside the Azure itself. So Microsoft Git repository hosting service part of Azure DevOps, the team using the Microsoft ecosystem. So it is only so whatever the provider we do have, most commonly being known as AWS, GCP, or the Azure, they have their own repositories which are associated with the Git, but they are only under their ecosystem only. They are not accessible or they are not visible beyond the ecosystem. And Git on self-hosted, that is we come across it, right? That's the thing. So we'll go and try to make out what is code commit and how does it work, everything. So what it exactly says that store code in private repository, but in GitHub we can have our source code could be make public to the others, or we can do private also. But here we do have only single option, that is private. It's taking quite long. We'll see. Fine. So the code commit is no longer available to the new customers. So existing customers of AWS Code Commit can continue using the services. So it's just an warning message. Ignore if you are. So I was using the word DevOps tool or the managed service, right? So for development thing, from development till deployment and maintenance, so everything is under one roof, that is developer tools. So once we developed our code and we have something to be pushed to our repository for maintaining and for collaboration within the team, so we will be using the GitHub, right? Likewise here in AWS environment we will be using the code commit. So whatever the code we have written on our local systems and need to collaborate with other team members, then we will be pushing into the repository. Okay, so that is what they are telling here. Source be whatever the things we going to commit, and artifacts is something but the destination, so where we going to store once after the build is being completed. Okay, and build, so we have some process to be done, unit testing and all, so everything is being done here. And deployment, so that is the final part. And between source as well as deploy, sorry, between build as well as deploy we have the pipeline. So we need to integrate all these things, right? So automatically if webhook has been done, so the pipeline should be run and the code build should be done. Once the build is success, it will be deployed, right? Like that. So now we'll get into the code commit part, that is maintaining the version of our source code, and it's completely private and within the AWS region only. Now let us go and create the repository. It is quite same as GitHub UI thing only. So we'll create like a demo thing and give the proper description. So when you are going with an organization, okay. So create repository is not allowed because there is no existing repository in the AWS. Okay. We'll try to create, if we encounter same error means we'll try to switch the region. Okay. So I have been restricted to the IAM things from the AWS, so I need to contact the support probably. So regarding creation of these things, so since I created this account a few months back, so we'll try to make out if I got an opportunity to explore this for you people. Fine. So there is nothing much like things. So whatever the things you're going to do in the GitHub, even it could be from the UI or even if it is from the CLI thing. So everything is same. There is no much difference. Fine. So only thing. So when you have created the repository and you need to access it there, we just provide git clone and we provide a git credential, right, for accessing the things. If it is a private one, if it is public, you don't ask anything. So if it is private, it will ask you for credential, right? So once after creating the repository, just go to IAM and click on users only for private things. So since whatever the repository source code you are going to create and store inside the AWS code commit are completely private, so only the authorized persons can able to view those source code. Other than that, nobody can able to access. So but when it comes to git, we can manage the visibility too. So we can either make our source code visible to the publics, or we can make that private too. Okay. So I have just come to the user things. Under user, I have created the user named as Jenkins. Here just go to security credential and scroll up. So here we have two options. So either by creating the SSH key, and we can generate the access key things, or we can create the thing. Just copy, this is your username, how you have the GitHub username like that, and this is like your personal access token, this is the password thing. Fine. This is how you can create and access or clone the thing. So I don't want it, I will be deleting this. Fine. So this is all about code commit. So we just come across and we understood that. So what is the advantage, and when should we go with code commit, and how it will be, and how we going to create the credential like a pad for code commit, and where we going to have, or where we going to create code commit is fine. Thank you all for being a part of this session, and we'll try to move on with other developer tools which are available in the AWS resources in upcoming sessions. Thank you.